That's one of the things that Jon Jones says about his brother Chandler. He goes, I was grabbing his wrists while he was sitting down, and Chandler basically lifted him up with his wrists. And he goes, I've never felt strength like that in my life. He's like, we're just lucky that guy's not fighting.
Those football guys are terrifying.
Terrifying.
He has the longest arms in UFC. Right. My arms are longer than his. Oh, my brother love him to death, but I'll kick his ass.
I think the number one consensus greatest of all time is Jon Jones. Because Jon Jones just went up and easily won the heavyweight title with the first round submission. Easily. Just took the guy down, strangled him, quick. He's so fucking good. I mean, he's beaten so many people. And the way he beat him, he fought Lyoto Machida, and it's one of the most cold-blooded finishes in the history of the sport. He grabs him at the cage, presses him against the cage, and gets him in this perfect power guillotine, puts him to sleep, and then drops him and walks away.
Jon Jones, the undefeated UFC legend and widely regarded as the greatest of all time, has dominated the sport for years. However, what if there was one man, a Russian wrestling legend, who could have stopped Jones' reign before it even began? According to Daniel Cormier, one of the most decorated fighters in UFC history, there was a wrestler who terrified even him. UFC commentator Joe Rogan agrees, suggesting that Jon Jones might have dodged the ultimate challenge. This isn't just speculation. It's coming straight from Cormier and Rogan themselves. The fighter in question is none other than the legendary Khasan Gatsalov. Let's break it down and explore how this unstoppable force could have altered the course of UFC history.
We were talking in the back about Alexander Karelin. I looked at that picture and I go, hey, that was a bad dude. Just a monster. A monster.
And
there have been many of them. Bulbasaur Satiev. All these great Russian athletes that are just crazy. There was one guy that beat me in the Olympic semifinals. His name was Khasan Gatsalov. We're lucky that son of a bitch didn't fight, because he would have beat everybody, and Jon Jones included. Every one of them would have got their ass whooped by that dude.
Really?
He was good, bro. He wrestled me at the Olympic Games, and he beat all of us, though. He beat me. He beat Kel Sanderson. He beat Kyle Snyder. He beat all the best Americans for a long time. He wrestled from my Olympic cycle all the way to Kyle Snyder, who won the
Dude, you're Illuminati. I'm not, though. That's the problem. I'm on the outside.
Do you have one of those masks you hold with a stick?
Those are plague masks. I have a plague mask.
During a recent episode of The Asterisk, Joe Rogan Experience Asterisk, a conversation sparked a buzz among MMA fans. Rogan recalled how Daniel Cormier once opened up about his battles with Khasan Gatsalov, a wrestler so dominant that Cormier himself admitted, if this guy ever joined the UFC, none of us would have stood a chance. Let that sink in. This is coming from the man who went toe-to-toe with Jon Jones, yet he believed Gatsalov was on an entirely different level. It's a striking revelation that leaves us wondering what might have happened if Gatsalov had ever entered the UFC.
The biggest I've ever seen in my life was a mathematician from Harvard. He used to do Taekwondo with me. His name was John Ball. People would go, he would change in the locker room. People would go just,
really?
What the frick?
Yeah.
Like a baseball bat.
Yeah.
It was giant. And he was like, you would never imagine if you saw the guy in real life. He was a mathematician, a genius, like a brilliant, brilliant guy.
And
And
you use it?
I mean, he had a wife that looked like she was protecting a gold mine. She would come in like, where is he? It was giant. I mean, it was like 12 inches soft.
Gatsalov's strength and conditioning were nothing short of legendary. Joe Rogan shared how Gatsalov's coach would push him to his limits, only to see him power through without faltering. Cormier himself admitted that Gatsalov could have broken everyone in the UFC. He was simply built differently. What's even more intriguing is that Gatsalov himself claims to know the secret to defeating Jon Jones in a fight.
One of the things you'll see in this video is he scores early on with 2 open stance double attacks on Daniel Cormier from Oklahoma State, who represented the United States of America. Here he comes with a straight open stance double and secures the takedown right on the edge from open stance, creates the space, level changes, goes high-low with the hands, and is able to score. So now he has 2 early attempts, and now he can come with the pump, 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 and completely keep Cormier off balance. Scoring early allows you to put that fear in your opponent that you're always going to attack, and Cormier was constantly on the defensive.
Na festa do fim de semana, só rolê bom. Ela chega e desentana com passo bem sou. Na festa do fim de semana, só rolê bom. Ela chega e desentana com passo bem sou. Na festa do fim de semana, só rolê bom. Ela chega e desencana com passo bem sou. Na festa do fim de semana, só rolê bom. Ela chega e desencana com passo bem sou.
In a rare interview shared on Instagram, the 2004 Olympic gold medalist, Cormier Gatsalov, revealed his strategy to dethrone Jon Jones. Gatsalov explained that engaging in wrestling exchanges with Jones would be a mistake due to his incredible positional stability and relentless tenacity. Instead, he proposed going straight for a double-leg takedown, a move that even Jones' elite wrestling background would find hard to defend. Sounds simple, right? Not so fast. As Daniel Cormier, Alexander Gustafsson, and many others can attest, defeating Jon Jones is much easier said than done.
Easy. There was one guy that beat me in the Olympic semifinals. His name was Khasan Gatsalov. We're lucky that son of a bitch didn't fight, because he would have beat everybody, and Jon Jones included. Every one of them would have got their ass whooped by that dude.
Really?
He was good, bro. He wrestled me at the Olympic Games. He beat all of us, though. He beat me. He beat Kel Sanderson. He beat Kyle Snyder. He beat all the best Americans for a long...
Here's the twist. We'll never see Gatsalov versus Jon Jones in the octagon. Gatsalov has retired, leaving MMA fans to wonder what could have been. Could the Russian wrestling machine have done what no one else could and handed Jones a definitive defeat? Or would Jones's striking, fight IQ, and adaptability have ultimately prevailed, further solidifying his status as the undisputed Joe-Eat?
You know the story of Alexander Karelin, right? He was like 300 pounds, built like a giant panther, and would hoist guys up in the air like that. That was his move. Like, guys would flatten themselves out to try to avoid being taken down, like flatten down on their stomach.
Yeah,
and his move would get his hands under their gut and hoist these 350-pound men in the air. Look at the build on that motherfucker. Just enormous, super fluid athlete. The way he moved, like flexible and just a full range of motion, not stiff at all.
Jon Jones has faced some of the toughest fighters in MMA, Daniel Cormier, Alexander Gustafsson, and Cyril Gane, but none of them could finish the job. While Gatsalov never stepped into the UFC, his dominance in wrestling, coupled with Cormier's admission, raises a haunting question. Was Jon Jones' greatest threat someone who never even entered the octagon? So, what do you think, fight fans? Could Gatsalov have toppled Jon Jones, or is this all just speculation? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more explosive M&A news. Until next time, stay sharp, stay ready, and keep watching.
Friendliest people that I know are all killers. They're all killers. The friendliest people that I know. If you met, like, some of my friends that fight the UFC, if you didn't know who they were and you met them, you'd be like, they're the most lovely people. Like Daniel Cormier. Daniel was a light heavyweight champion and heavyweight champion. He was a 2-division world champion and was dominating in a weight class that in Strikeforce, he didn't even belong in heavyweight. He's like 5'11". He's not a big guy. He's just such an insane tank of a human being. And his wrestling was so insane, and his just will was so insane. He was dominated 2 different divisions. He was a killer. The nicest nicest fucking guy you'd ever meet in your life.
No,
If you're hanging around with him, you would never believe.
Uh-huh.
You would never believe that he could pick up anybody in the room and smash them on their head. You would never believe it. You would think he's just a sweetheart of a...
Joe Rogan recently dropped a bombshell on Asterisk, the Joe Rogan Experience Asterisk, calling one of the most decorated champions in UFC history the nicest ___ guy you'd ever meet in your life. But here's the twist. This genuinely nice guy is also one of the most ruthless killers the Octagon has ever seen. Who is this fighter who dominated 2 divisions, smashed legends, and still managed to be the ultimate good guy? Let's break it down, and don't miss the real clips that prove why he's one of the GOATs.
I'm going to start pulling at that man's title for the first 2 rounds, and he'll hold on to it. But right around the 3rd round, 4th round, Jon will open his hands, let his grip go, and say, Daniel, take it. This is too hard. I don't want to deal with it. I'm going to push that man to a place that he's never been in his entire life, and I will make Jon Jones quit. Sunday morning, Joe Rogan, you will wake up, and you will say, how Daniel make this look so easy?
Jon Jones, you're...
The man in question is none other than Daniel Cormier, a UFC Hall of Famer and one of the most accomplished fighters in MMA history. Cormier's resume speaks for itself. He became the 2nd fighter in UFC history to hold titles in 2 divisions simultaneously, and the 1st to defend titles in both the light heavyweight and heavyweight divisions. His victories over icons like Anderson Silva, Dan Henderson, and Alexander Gustafsson solidify his legacy. But here's what truly sets Cormier apart. Despite being considered undersized for a heavyweight at just 5'11", he dominated the division with his incredible wrestling skills and unmatched determination.
This is how Daniel Cormier destroyed Stipe Miocic. As DC goes for the underhook, he is also loading up his right hand. Stipe sees DC changing his grip and tries to get out of the clinch, but since his left hand is defending a possible level change from DC, the right hand has a clear target. However, DC misses this time. In the next sequence, Stipe tries something different. Instead of getting out of the clinch, when DC goes for the underhook, Stipe grabs the single collar with his right hand while his left hand is still low, and DC throws a right that knocks out Stipe.
Just for the record, I don't really need permission to call someone's fight. I'm not going to call Zach Candido or Craig Borsari and say, hey, Jon Jones said it's okay for me to call the fight, so you guys can put me on the call. But I'll be honest with you, it's kind of nice to hear the fighter acknowledge that even with our history, he believes that I could do him justice and do the job fairly. Because I've done it before. And I've done it at a time when him and I were at the height of our engagements, of our rivalry, of our fighting. When I called the Ovince St. Preux fight, I thought that I did him justice. At the end of the fight, he flipped me off when he left the octagon. Obviously, like I said, we're very deep into our rivalry, but it feels nice for him to acknowledge, I think this guy could do me justice, even with everything. But I don't know why, considering I felt like I did him justice in the fight. You watch TV?
Oh, I watch like a little Netflix every now and then,
Yeah.
or HBO or something like that.
No, I love TV.
TV, like with commercials.
I want to watch a commercial.
It's so crazy.
I'm like a nostalgia guy, bro. I'm like,
Really?
you remember there was a time whenever we could not fast forward the commercial?
I remember it all. I remember I got a TiVo.
Yes.
You remember TiVo?
Yes, I do.
And you could pause TV.
You could
I'm
pause
like,
TV?
This is crazy.
Alex Pereira kicked my leg. I was like, this shit hurts. But if Izzy would have just shut up, this dude would have stayed in Brazil. He's tall.
They're very odd.
And he's like, and if
Yeah.
you get close, it's the right hand.
Who's the guy that he scissor kicked? He scissor knee Nicolaitis?
Oh my God.
Oh.
I thought you were lying, bro. I was like, okay, this dude's supposed to be good. And you come in and you're like, DC, wait until you see this Pereira. And then he does that. And I look over and I go, oh my God, you're telling the truth.
Dude, he's got 2 world titles and 11 fights.
In 2 years.
Joe Rogan has seen it all in his nearly 3 decades as a UFC commentator. But when it comes to Daniel Cormier, Rogan's admiration goes far beyond the octagon. He's such an insane tank of a human being, Rogan said on his podcast. His wrestling was so insane, and his will was so insane that he dominated 2 different divisions. He was a killer, but the nicest ___ guy you'd ever meet in your life. It's not every day you hear a UFC legend described this way. Imagine a guy who could toss anyone in the room on their head, but would rather crack jokes and share a laugh. That's Daniel Cormier. Jon Jones has faced some of the toughest fighters in MMA, Daniel Cormier, Alexander Gustafsson, and Cyril Gane, but none of them could finish the job. While Gatsalov never stepped into the UFC, his dominance in wrestling, coupled with Cormier's admission, raises a haunting question. Was Jon Jones' greatest threat someone who never even entered the octagon?